what's going on, everybody? And thanks for joining me again. Today's a great episode. We're going into 28, and I've got a great special friend from law school with me, Calvin Pierre, talented and smart Calvin. How we doing, brother?
I'm doing well, man.
Thanks for joining me. I'm real excited for this.
Me, man, for real.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Calvin's from New Jersey. He's an entrepreneur. He was just telling me before this all the things that he's gotten himself into, from real estate to creating new lines of hair products to now an endeavor of halfway through law school. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty badass, man. You should be proud of yourself.
I appreciate that.
Don't be afraid. Do a shameless plug for your hair product.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Calvin Pierre, as my man Alex has just said. I'm the creative Pierre's Caribbean Secrets. Caribbean Secrets is the name, and this is a luxury cosmetic product for women of multicultural backgrounds with textured hair. It's a really dope product. It will be launching the fall of 2020, so check that out. Caribbean Secrets.
Caribbean Secrets coming soon. I like to hear it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm excited for you, man.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it, man. For real.
So for today's episode, we've got two chosen articles. We're going to do those real quick, then get into our chosen topic for the day, which is a Instagram ad that I came across. And then we're going to wrap up today's episode with a fun game I came up for Mr. Pierre and myself. Ballers or hip-hop scholars.
Okay.
So we'll get to that at the end. So first article, I think this is the most appropriate thing to be discussing, because as I'm sitting in my evening class for trademark, it was employment discrimination, as I'm sitting there to find what articles are important for today, it has been officially announced that the articles of impeachment have been delivered by Nancy Pelosi to the Senate, triggering a historic trial of President Trump. It's here. You know what's funny is I was in admin last semester, and I'm meeting with my admin professor, and he's like, this is, and he's a liberal. I'm gonna say it, but he was like, just based on the actual laws itself, there's no way this gets anywhere. And we just all the conversations I had with him. So what's funny is if you go back to the Rethink Tank YouTube page in like November, there was a whole conversation about, and I was just kind of projecting what my professor said and what was the evidence that they were presenting. And what's interesting is all of that was wrong. All of it's wrong. It went through impeachment. Now, I don't know if you watched the impeachment debate, but it was so bipartisan. You had half the aisle going, I'm doing this for my grandkids. This will be a historic moment. And the other half going, you haven't presented, just present us the law that you're saying he's broke so we could have something to talk about. So it was real interesting. Nobody was talking about the same thing. You would think somebody would want to go, hey guys, we're all here. How often do we get here? Let's get to the matter at hand. Instead, it was a show. But I even said on the last podcast when we talked about the impeachment, I am pro hacking all presidents out. If we could get a new president every month, I'd be psyched. Because I think making these career politicians, I mean, that's a whole road we could go down forever. But it's just very interesting that the projected interpretations of what would come, totally incorrect. And here we are, officially impeaching the president, and now, people don't really understand. You get impeached, takes you to a trial, now it's about removal. Removal, some people confuse and think impeachment is synonymous with removal. No. Impeachment comes first, then they get removed. So now we're on the removal step. This is going to be really interesting. Not many presidents get to this point. So, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I know that there was a president that has gotten impeached.
Nixon.
Before, right? Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. See, Donald Trump is an interesting individual, man. You know what I mean?
To say the least.
Yeah, to say the least. He comes from a different type of background, and the things that he's trying to accomplish during his presidency. I don't know, man. Like, I think being a president is a very difficult thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And just to understand who he is and where he comes from, that has a lot of influence in a lot of decisions that he's making. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And obviously his team behind him and all that stuff. So it's a lot of different factors, bro. But, I don't know. Like I said, I know there was a president that got impeached before. don't know, man. We'll just wait and see how this whole thing unfolds. You know what I mean? It's a very interesting time.
That's the best part. Yeah. And you know what's funny is I ended the last Trump impeachment, like I said, go back 6 months ago. Yeah. Ended the same segment, and it's essentially the same way. Yeah. There's nothing we can do besides that's you think you're in a democracy, you're not. You're in a representative republic. Right. And at the end of the day, you get to sit back with your bowl of popcorn and just watch the show. Right. The clowns are going to do their dance because that's all it is. They're going to be doing their dance, and then you get to sit back and go, well, that's how the cards fell, which could be good, which could be bad. You know, at the end of the day, we are totally disarmed from our ability to gauge how this will how the outcome will present itself. Right. And also we're left totally disarmed. Can't do anything.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, we'll just wait and see. You know, one thing I want to say, like, just to be aware of the time that we are in, bro. Like, a lot of people are starting to become, independent in regards to receiving, like, economic stability. You know, we're in the uprise of technology. You know, we have my man Tesla and all these other different people. So it's an emerging time. I don't know, bro. We'll wait and see what happens. But this is just a very interesting time of existence, bro.
They'll be talking about this for decades to come.
Yeah, bro.
And we're living it.
Yeah, we're living in it.
You know what's funny is
crazy.
If you were to go back before the Trump presidency, so let's just say the end of Obama's era or even Bush's era, that was a time where things were pretty mellow, and we were all still talking about what happened decades ahead of time with Nixon. Right. And we, Clinton's impeachment as well. Right. But, these are huge milestone events. Yeah. What's interesting is, and I think, you take the more diplomatic approach of just saying, Trump's an interesting guy. Yeah, he is. Trump is a character, to say the least. And what's wild about this guy, and as somebody who could say they voted for Trump and has totally changed their tune, it has been, I think, as a result of, I think a lot of us expected somebody to become presidential. Right. You were voted the president. Now it's time to act like a president. The show will not end, but it'll totally be curbed by you acting as a president. Right. We didn't see that.
But what does it mean to act like a president?
That's true. That's a great point. That's a very great point.
Because we had a lot of crazy presidents, man.
But I think there's something to be said about using middle of the road, moderate, safe language in a presidential, strong tone. And I think nobody embodies what a president should look like more than Obama. Right. Hate him, love him. Right. The dude would come on the screen. Yeah. Now, granted, I think a lot of people were upset with hey, it felt like he was only talking to half this country. Right. But he wasn't. And he spoke in very moderate, strong language. Right. And so one thing that I do want to give Trump, I don't even think it's something to be proud of him for, but something to acknowledge was I've had a problem this entire administration with him coming up. They've got the teleprompter rolling, but you can tell he's improving. This was a terrible move. Very bad. Very bad. It's all right, I wonder which of those words were predetermined.
He lacked authenticity.
Bingo. That's what he lacked. Well, what it was is he was trying to become authentic, but it came out, it read phony.
It wasn't real.
Exactly. And it comes off uneducated. You sound like a dope.
No, I completely agree with you. And I'm not necessarily saying that Trump has a character that, I favor. You know what I mean? All I'm saying is that to understand how a person makes decisions, you have to understand where he comes from. And Trump comes from a very privileged background. So it's like the fact that this country has even allowed him to get into office shows that there are people out there who share a similar view. And there are enough of them to get him into office. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So this is a whole nother side of America, bro. And that's why I'm saying we'll just sit back and watch how it unfolds. Because, at the end of the day, things always end up working out. You feel me?
That's 100%. Even if you get it to the most microscopic level of just your life. Hey, man, there's no way I'm going to pass this semester. Right. Somehow it always seems to work itself out.
Always works out, bro.
That's a very great
works
point.
Out. And we're coming from Obama. This was a different side of America, bro. This is a side of America. When Obama came into office, man, it was a very monumental time. And you know, it's just about time that the world just made a different shift and got him into office, Trump. You feel me? Now we'll see how that works out. You feel me? But it's all about time, and it's all about just allowing the world to work itself out. You know what I mean?
I totally agree.
Yeah. Obama spoke at my graduation, by the way.
No way.
Yeah. He spoke
Where
at?
at?
Howard University.
That is very cool,
2016.
dude. Because you were right there in D.C.
That's right.
Oh.
Yeah, his last year of presidency, man, that's he came in.
We had Forrest Whitaker come to Miami University.
Okay. I mean, hey, shit. It's not Obama.
That ain't Obama, man.
It's cool.
Hey,
though, you know
did you know who was teaching at the Delaware Widener campus for law school?
Who?
The Delaware campus has had a professor touch little girls, Joe Biden.
Really?
Yes.
Joe Biden?
Joe Biden was a professor.
Teaching at Widener.
I don't know if it was an ice cream flavored class. I don't know like what ice cream law. I don't know what else or how to get away with pedophilia 101.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I don't know. But that was at the other Widener.
God. Yeah, it was.
Yo, but to bring it back real quick, the one thing I do want to give Trump is while I will attest his Twitter grosses me out. Can't even emphasize that enough. His inability to be presidential, but he does the salami with Iran situation happens, and we went to the deli and diced up some salami, and all eyes were on us, and I want to. One thing I need to give credence to is for the first time in 3 years, this dude came out and read from the teleprompter, which speaks to me that he understands the severity of this situation. Right. Because he didn't go like, bad, this was bad, real bad. Like, he stuck to the teleprompter, which I've never, even at his rally. So the fact that he's reading the proper words, it's like, all right, it's finally getting through to him.
Yeah.
So I think in very real situations, I think, like you said, things work themselves out.
All the time.
So no matter the legality or illegality of what's going on in this impeachment, it'll work itself out.
All the time, bro.
Just like, at the end, Star Wars, the light snuffed out the dark side, right? Like, it just happens.
It just happens.
So at some point, I feel like just get your popcorn, wait for Greg Lucas Films to come in here and dice some heads, and then we get to enjoy the movie.
Yeah, exactly what he said.
All right, well, I think that was great. Bringing in a great time. I don't think there's any more to acknowledge besides the fact that, listen, we're powerless, so there's really not a conversation to be had.
I mean, what do you mean by we're powerless, though?
I mean, at the end of the day, we're not powerless in that we got to vote in the senators.
Right.
But it's a Republican-heavy Senate, and the legality, the law being applied here itself against the facts, that's a quagmire in and of itself. So it's like, there's really not much me as a citizen. I can't write if everybody's like, call your governor, and what is that going to do? Either the governor is casting their vote appropriately based on the facts and going what is right, or they don't care what you have to say and they're going to go with their party. They're going to go with their politics, which again leaves you powerless. So what is that phone call to the Republican going to do?
I'm going to tell you something, though, bro. Like, I disagree with you in the sense where I see where you're coming from. I understand.
No, I appreciate
it. But you have a lot of power, bro. You have the power of media. You know what I'm saying?
That's a great point.
Like,
and these conversations.
These conversations, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of power in that, and there's a power in numbers. You feel me? So it's like if you're ambitious enough, or if you have the dream or the desire to create a movement, you can create it and be successful at it.
So I 100% agree with you 10 times over.
Yeah.
So do you feel like this is a subject that no one's ambitious about? More like not as ambitious
you know what?
as
the thing about
politicians?
Trump, bro. I think people enjoy just talking bad about him. Bro.
Oh yeah,
you know,
and there's a whole business, $1 billion business around that.
Exactly, because he's different, and people enjoy talking bad about him, but nobody is willing to really put in the work like you're doing. Like the fact that you even brought the subject up, you know, and we're having a conversation about it is initiating a certain type of change. But not a lot of people have the ambition to do so.
I like that. It's a great point, and that's exactly where it starts. We had that whole conversation earlier before this of why I even was compelled to do this. For that exact reason. I think there's a lot of power in these types of conversations. What I think it is okay, I'm all about having conversations, as many as we can, about anything.
Yeah.
But I think there was a conversation to be had before the impeachment.
Right.
And there's definitely going to be a conversation to be had after, whether he's found guilty and removed or they just do away with this.
Right.
Either way, I think we're just on the timeline. We're at that point where it's like, there's nothing to say.
Yeah.
I mean, your words aren't going to change. Listen, like I said, I watched that debate. Nothing productive was being said. It was either, I'm doing this for my nephew, who's not even watching this right now, but will probably know about this 20 years from now. Or, I'm going to, I couldn't have, they would go 4 points. There's no law that applies here. There's no evidence. And they would list out like a debater. 4 points.
Right.
All they had to do was the other side now has to acknowledge, point 1, we disagree because of this. Point 2, they don't even acknowledge it. So it was like the fact that we're having 2 different conversations, I think whatever we have to say about it, it's already lost and buried. They're not even acknowledging the conversation to be had. There is, like the Wizard of Oz, a man behind the curtain pulling the levers, and that's who we're relying on. So now we just got to sit back and see what the floating fire head tells us. And
I mean, but bro, listen, man. At the same time, it's like if you choose to do that, that's what you do. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all have a choice when we wake up in the morning what we decide to do. Like, it's all a choice, bro. No, we are not puppets. We're not attached to anything other than the universe, and the universe has a law, you feel me? You can't jump without going down. It's gravity. You know, there's also the law of attraction. There's the law of, you know what I'm saying, like being the master of your destiny. That's a law too. You feel me? So it's all about what you decide to do. You know, so if you decide to wake up in the morning and fucking pull a lever like the Wizard of Oz, and that's what you want to do. You know what I'm saying?
You're right, though.
But if you could be like, if there are more people like yourself that decide to, you know, be the master of their destiny and create something, you know, that has a lot of power. There's a lot of power in that.
I like that, and you know what? It could. Your statements hold true when you're sitting next to someone like yourself who has all of these endeavors that they've accomplished and haven't even scratched the surface of their abilities, right?
I appreciate
Just
that
keep
shit.
doing all this stuff because that's it. And I'll be honest with you. I've reached this point in my life where I'm about to be one of those pricks that enforces Esquire after their name. I'm about to be a doctor, honey cakes. You'll refer to it
you
right.
Deserve it, right.
So it's one of those like once you've got. You're at a point where I was, where it's like, you couldn't convince me there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You get so entrenched in this 3-year hell, even though they keep telling you it's only 3 years, man. It's like, but if I get cut a year and a half in, I've done all this work and nothing to show for it. I've grown my mind and I have nothing to show for it. It is such a terrifying experience. And so I think being at this point in my life, I've started to recognize, there's too many people around me who are just eager, super fast to be a brick in the wall. Not to be the Pink Floyd hippie next to you. But there's those people that will be, listen, there's the people that climb the ladder, and then there's people that make the ladder. And so when people get upset of like, oh, look at all the people they had to step over to get there, well, it's like, no. You allowed yourself to be the stepping stone because you don't even want to move. You're comfortable. You're like, no. I'm this accountant, and I'm totally like, when I'm reaching out to my friends, like, hey man, I want to help you be creative and create something with me, and we can help build each other. And they go, I'm pretty. I'm like, but what are you doing in your free time? You're just coming home. I'm gonna leave out that what else you're doing, and then you're watching TV or you're playing Xbox. It's like, don't get me wrong, I'm playing Xbox with you. You're my boy. We're talking, but I'm also working on my laptop editing a video, and I'm also trying to provoke you to do something.
There we go.
So I'm with you in that. Like, there are those people, and you can't make the argument of, oh, that's just not in me. No. It's you chose to snuff that out inside you.
That's it.
And that light can be relit at any time. The second you find the passion, you go, you know what? I do want something. And it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's art, whether it's, your physicality. I want to be a health fitness expert. Like, give yourself something to work towards, because if you're not, then, What is the famous saying? It's the saying for a reason. Idle hands are the devil's playground because you're not doing nothing.
Boredom.
And boredom.
Yeah.
And that's it too. I really believe, I think there's a lot going on with the depression, anxiety heightened in our society right now. I go through it too. What's amazing, thank God for global warming, baby. This has been the best winter ever. That winter depression has not hit because it's not even coming. It's been great.
That's good,
But
bro.
you know what I'm saying? I think we're all eating shitty food.
Yeah.
I think we're not getting enough exercise.
Yeah.
And we're not passionate about anything.
Yeah.
So when you're sitting around without, all right, I'm distracting myself with an evening with Calvin. Then I'm going to work on this video. If you're not distracting your mind and you're sitting here going, wow, everything sucks. I got to remind myself, everything sucks. Everything still sucks. Well, then, everything's going to suck, man.
Right.
So I think what you say has a lot of credence in the real world. We live it every day.
Yeah. Definitely, bro. Like, it's just an interesting time, bro. Look at the internet. You know what I mean? Just look at what's going on, bro. Like, we're literally at a time where we are the masters of our own destiny and we can create anything we want to create. And we have an abundance of everything. The thing about right now is that there's too much of everything.
Yeah, it's true too.
People don't know how to manage that.
Too much information, too much stimulation.
It's too much.
You're 100% right.
It's too much. And so, like, a lot of people, they feel like, they want to be distracted by something else, but they don't. I think, essentially, bro, I think the nature of our existence is creation.
Yes, 100%.
We're here to create. You know what I'm saying? Like, the people that go down on the history books are the individuals that have dedicated their time to create and not necessarily, like, just be a part of something, like, no shots fired at anybody that, that's going to school. But it's like, if you're just looking for a career and you don't want to create nothing else, maybe you are creating in the sense where you're contributing to somebody else's thing. But it's like, why don't you create something that's yours?
Right.
But then your work is yours at the same time. So it's all about what you want. It's all about your passion. But I think at this point in time, bro, it's just, if you're not creating, bro, you ain't doing shit.
I agree.
You create something for the next generation, for somebody that can see something.
And I'm glad you say that because you know what? It's been one of those. I can't say I wasn't thinking in any type of language, so I wasn't thinking it in a statement. Yeah. That's a perfect way to say it. If you aren't creating anything, you aren't doing shit because at the end of the day, you're not doing anything. If your hobby is to play Xbox or it's to play baseball, right? Get the you're a kid, get the neighborhood together and play baseball. Yeah. You need to have that in your life too. Yeah. The escapes, the time to have fun and let loose with people, but also understanding that you're not doing anything. Right. Nothing's being. And what is funny is when you meet somebody, you go, "Hi, I'm Bill. What do you do?" That's the first thing. We already are judging each other based on like, what is your production and asset to this tribe, right? And so it comes down to like, you can play football in your free time or flag football with the guys or go to a bowling tournament. But what are you doing? Right. And so there's something real special to, hey man, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to have this pretty successful situation to begin with. That's it. But then in my free time, I'm not going to be playing. Listen, I'm going to be playing lots of golf. Yeah. But that's going to be the extra free time. I'm going to have something that I'm working towards and creating. And I think you nailed it. Yeah. I'm sitting there with a little bit of animosity towards these friends as I'm like, yo, if you've got, I'm not sitting here trying to just jerk myself off, but it's like when you've got this friend that's pretty passionate about something, is not an academic schlub, and they're coming to you with an idea and they want to do something with you. To not even explore it. Right. And I'm like, maybe I'm the bad guy. Who am I to put my will on these people? If they don't want to do it, then screw them. But I think you nailed it with what I was trying to get through to myself and not acknowledging what the true statement is. If you're not, you want to look at them and go, but if you're not creating something, you're doing nothing. Right. If you're not creating something, you're doing nothing. But the funny thing about it is, bro, we're constantly creating something. You know what I mean? That's the greatest part too. Look at art. That's what it is. It can be anything. It's a constant creation, but it's like, where's the substance? You know what I mean? Is there some sort of like emotion behind it that can be felt? You know, that can be like that can influence another person to do something else. It's a chain reaction. You know.
And that's why I really think what you're doing is so dope and so unique. And that's why I wanted to be a part of this interview because I really appreciate the fact that, you have the fire in you to create something bigger than yourself or something bigger than what somebody else is telling you to do. You're creating your own shit. And that shit is dope as fuck.
I appreciate that. That's really awesome. I appreciate that a lot. And it means a lot coming from you because, like I said, you're somebody who grinds, who works, and has appreciation and affection for that. Because you're familiar with it.
For sure.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
For sure. No problem.
But yeah, man. All right. Last article.
Let's go.
Because, again, that's the best part about these conversations, too, man, is we get into the weeds without even... We're talking about Trump, and here we are. Right. I mean, it's the best. But... All right, so this past Monday was the national championship game that Ohio State was supposed to win, but the ref stole from them. But in the end, it was LSU versus Clemson. Should have been Ohio State. But as we saw the way the game went, but Clemson came out strong, and LSU put them right back in their place. Joey Bosa's going to be the first quarterback to go in the draft. He will for sure go to Cincinnati. Nice. This Ohio boy going back to Cincy. It'll be great. But the article we chose for today is the police reportedly threatened to arrest. So I'm going to put a picture up here now so you could see kind of a reference to what I'm talking about. But there's been a picture or video circulating of Joey Bosa with Big Dick Joe on his hat. And he's sitting there smoking a cigar. And it was actually, I didn't know this, in the locker room at the Superdome in Louisiana. So he got in trouble for smoking a cigar at the Superdome. And we had the police coming at them, threatening to arrest them.
Wow.
So before we get into the weeds of the situation...
Yeah.
If my dad's listening to this, he's going crazy. Because when I was a kid, we had seen for my entire life, up until we went 1-15, we had season tickets to the Browns.
Okay.
And we were across from the Dog Pound, which the Dog Pound's got the horror stories of having the most wild people.
Okay.
But I think because we were across from it, and we had all the season ticket holders that would scalp their tickets, we had the shadiest people around us, dude. Just random. So long story short, it's Miami versus Cleveland.
Okay.
And there's these two white trash, drunk, just Walmart people.
Okay.
Fat Walmart people.
He said Walmart people.
And they were Miami Dolphin fans, so they didn't belong to begin with.
Right.
And they're sitting in front of us.
Okay.
And, this was just at the time I was growing up, and I hated cigarette smoke.
Yeah.
And I hated, a lot of the kids today, I'm having a kid from high school. He was in high school. He's this huge social media kid.
Yeah.
He's goes to my high school now.
Okay.
So he's like 17, 18.
Yeah.
And so anyway, when we were that age, like none of those kids recognized that, at least in Ohio, I don't know how it was in New Jersey, but they used to have smoking in restaurants. And you'd have to walk in and they go smoking or non-smoking as if it made a difference. And you go non-smoking, even though it's all in the same room, it couldn't make less of a difference. That used to drive me nuts. And then when the Ohio passed a law, and obviously the rest of the country, it was like a tidal wave, but they outlawed smoking in restaurants. Then it was annoying that they would just hover around the front of the restaurant. You'd have to bust through to get to your car. And so we were at that period in life where it was like, we're already pushing them outside, like, go to your corner. And we're at the Cleveland Browns stadium, and you're not allowed to smoke inside the stadium. And this stadium does not have a cover over top like the Superdome.
Okay.
So, long story short, even though it's gotten long story long, we're sitting, and these two Miami Walmart people are in front of us. And the dude is drunk as a skunk. And my dad's like, hey, you're not allowed to smoke up here. And they start cussing their ass off. And they're cussing at my dad. And my dad's like, no, seriously, you're not. Like, I'll call the security or whatever. And they were like, whatever, guy. And they just leave. They get up and leave, and they're gone for the majority of the game. So that was the beginning of the game. Come the third quarter, they come back drunker and stronger than ever. So the one dude can barely even stand. And he goes and he lights up a cigarette. And my dad goes, you better not be lighting up a cigarette again. And he turns around and he's like, It sparks a cigarette.
What happened?
And my dad reaches over and slaps it out of his hand.
My God.
And he gets up and he's like, "You just assaulted me! You assaulted me!" And as he's losing his mind, he flips back and falls over.
Oh my God.
And security ends up taking him away. They were drunk and nuts and everything, and they ended up leaving. But it's been a joke between my dad and I. Like, my dad, because of that, he's become a real stickler. Anytime we go to a sport, he's like, "But somebody better not be smoking in here. You know what I'll do." So, and the Superdome's got a roof, bro. No smoking to the Superdome.
Right.
But come on, they just won a national championship and they're in a locker room.
Yeah,
they're not even with the people.
Right.
They're with the team. This is the most. Sorry, Dad, but this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Come on, let Joey Bosa have a cigar. He just romped all you.
Yeah.
Let him sit back and enjoy the moment.
No, for sure.
What are you doing taking from this kid's moment? I was, seeing him, there's this chant. I don't even think I should be saying it on here, but LSU started this chant where it's like, something about sucking some things and doing some things, and it gets pretty raunchy at these games. Joey Bosa's on the sidelines cheering it with him. I'm like, yo, let this kid be a kid.
Yeah.
You remember being, 20 years old? Can you imagine being 20 and having the whole world, like, ready to throw millions at you and obsessed with your Instagram and what you're doing? This, he will be a forgotten quarter. Dude, you're going to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I'm wishing you the best, but you're going to be like Baker. They'll be dumping monies on you as you're forgotten.
Yeah.
So college is a special thing because look at I'm not gonna remember his name for Texas. Who was there? He was a black quarterback, absolutely amazing. Anyway, hold on, people. I'm sorry. Vince Young. Vince Young was the hottest thing in college. I'll never forget going to the Ohio State Fiesta Bowl against Notre Dame, and the thing we all cared about was finishing up and getting to the next day so we could watch Vince Young win the championship.
Yeah.
I mean, that dude ran the league. Guess what? Goes to, I think it was the Titans, and bye-bye, you're forgotten. So his time to shine with... Why take that away from this kid? Is he's literally about to just enjoy one of the biggest moments of his existence.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really watch much football, but what I do know is that these people are public figures. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point, too.
And so I think what the police may be trying to do right there, I think they're probably trying to, like, make a statement, you know what I'm saying? Like, no one is above the law type shit. But at the same time, I agree with you. Let the young boy do his thing.
I guess that's a great point. That's a great point. So rule at the end of the day, a rule is a rule.
Yeah. And no one is above that rule. And so they're just making sure that they show that. But I don't really think it's going to really, like, impose on anything. But, they have to make a statement. You know what I mean? And that's just what they're doing.
But see, I agree with your point. At the end of the day, if you're going to say we enforce rules, then you enforce the rules.
That's it.
But the other question I have is, and a lot of this, not to get into the weeds of the legality of it all, but, it comes down to the fire department and everything else. But there are smoking lounges and stuff.
Right.
So my curiosity is that a rule for the public? How when you buy a ticket, the back of your ticket has all the law, the rule of the agreement, your contract with the stadium.
Right.
I'm sure that's where that rule is, no smoking, but is that really for a staffer or I'm sorry, but I can tell you for a fact.
This guy's thinking like a lawyer right
now. Bingo. And I can tell you for a fact, nothing is cooler than going to a Wiz Khalifa concert, something I've done multiple times, where he goes, I understand what your rules are. That's for them.
Right.
And you're not going to affect me.
Right.
And so there's something, totally boss about that. I love it, dude, to the nth degree. But also it's like, but that's the truth, though. The rule really doesn't apply to him. And at any one of those moments, I saw him at Lala, I saw him in Mexico, and saw him in Cleveland. At any one of those times, somebody could go, hey, guy, like, this is the rule for everybody.
Right.
Is it the reason they tell him or the reason nobody steps up and tells him to stop? Is it because it's Wiz Khalifa? Nobody wants to be the one to do it. Or is it because the rules don't apply to him?
Yeah.
Because I know we could talk about any concert we've been to where the musician or the artist lights it up and he's like, this is my shtick, guys. I know you listen to my music doing the same thing.
Right. It's all a matter of leverage too. At the end of the day, bro.
That's a great point,
You know what
too.
I'm saying? Like Wiz Khalifa is a very like he made a name for himself. You know what I mean? Like. So I don't know. I really don't. I don't know much about.
But this is the biggest, won the Heisman, biggest dude in college football right now. So it's one of those like, and so the only reason I brought that whole thing up with like Wiz Khalifa and stuff is, I think most of listen, if I probably didn't fail, if I failed out of law school, there's a good chance I might end up being a cop in some ways.
Right.
So I'm not saying literally, oh my God, I can't stand those people.
Right.
That's why I became a lawyer, to take you down. But I could say for a fact that most of the people who are cops, why is it that the enforcer of the law has a lower standard? It's easier to get in the police academy and pass it. And why is it a higher standard for somebody who's going to defend you against the law? Shouldn't it be the other way around? You're going to be the enforcer. You should have the higher stringent. Like, why is it harder for us to be lawyers, easier for them to be cops? The only reason I say all that is because a lot of these people are egotistical jerks. And how much of this is some dude on a power trip? The rule probably didn't apply to Joey Bosa. Probably applied to Section 236, Row 4, Seat E.
Right.
And it probably didn't apply to Joey Bosa.
Right.
And I think this is just some guy on a power trip, one, seeing a kid at the highest moment of his life, but also on a power trip going, I'm the enforcer of the rules here. And I think that's most of the situations we have.
Yeah. But you got to think about like the different levels of, there's three branches of government, right? You have executive, legislative, you have judicial. So it's like we're in a different branch, so there's a different requirement. Executive, they're the street gang, bro. They're the people that's supposed to execute the law. You know what I'm saying? So there's like a certain like standard that they have that I wouldn't necessarily expect from a lawyer. I would expect a different thing from a lawyer because a lawyer has to carry himself differently. You know what I mean? So it's just a different standard. You know what I mean? But yeah, bro, like that's what cops are made to do, man. That's what they're here for. They're here to execute the law. So that's just what they. You know what I mean?
No, that's a real great point.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the point. I think the way I come out on this, and I think you would agree, is if the genuine rule of the stadium applies to all people in that stadium, which it probably does,
right?
Because it all has to be okayed by the fire department. I mean, these are real strict rules. So for a room to be okayed, again, it's one of those like, this is a one-night thing. This is a championship.
Yeah.
So, listen, Cavaliers won the championship. I've never seen the Cleveland streets like anything like that in my existence.
You were over
and it's
there?
going to be worse when the Browns win a Super Bowl. Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah?
I was not in the stadium.
Oh, okay.
We were just downtown at a bar.
Yeah.
It was crazy trying to find a bar that you could find a spot. Cleveland was soaked with people.
Damn.
And, I'm not kidding you. This thing lets out people just hanging out of windows, passing each other blunts. My buddy was a clown, yo. I know this was set up for the theatrics. They were just like, hey man, we're gonna sacrifice a cop car. But they had a cop car in the middle of the town, and it was purposefully done because there is a newscaster van right next to it, all lights on it, cameras on it. Dude, my buddy, along with tons of people, are beating this thing in, jumping in on the windshield. I mean, this thing was beat to hell.
Oh, wow.
And it was one of those probably like, hey, take it out on this thing versus the city.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. So again, it's one of those,
crazy.
this is a special time.
Yeah.
I told you I saw Wiz Khalifa a couple times.
Yeah.
I saw Wiz Khalifa because it was opening day for the Cleveland Indians and it was a playoff game for the Cavaliers. Okay. So the city paid for him to put on a concert in the middle of the town. Mm-hmm. Me and my buddy took off school, I took off work. He took off work. This was before school. Nice. And we literally were front row for this free concert.
Yeah,
I mean, dude, I'm obsessed with that dude. But it was so fun. And again, it's kind of like, I agree when we have a world of social injustice and real life problems for a lot of people. Yeah. It is privileged and also inappropriate to sit here and advocate for like, just let people bend the rules. Yeah. But also, I guess where my stance is, does the rule really apply here? It probably does. Yeah. But how much of it is that you truly gave a shit about the rules? Because some of them is like, hey man, listen, you're not allowed to smoke dope here. You got to get going. And a lot of times they just let you go if you treat them nice and you act up front. Yeah. Other times they do put their foot down because they want to. It's their choice. It's this, what is it, Judge Dredd or whatever, the comic book, Judge and Jury, the robot guy. But anyway, they get to decide, you know what, I am going to enforce the rules now. I'm not going to. That kind of discretion is a bit problematic. Yeah. So it's an interesting subject because I come out like, let a kid be a kid. But also we're lawyers at some degree, and it's like, hey man, a rule's a rule. Yeah,
and you know, like I said, like he's a public figure.
That's the big one.
You know what I mean? And so it's important that if they show that they aren't allowing someone with a stature like him to smoke, then no one can smoke. You know what I mean? So
that's a great point.
Yeah. It's very strategic, but I don't think he's necessarily going to be hit hard because of that shit. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I bet it was one of those like, hey man, put it out or we're going to arrest you. And he's like, all right, guy, and puts it out.
Shit, you know.
But it's like, all right.
Yeah.
Who is in that locker room besides you, the cop, who's paid to make sure no crazy shit goes on and you keep everybody at bay and keep the crazy people out? Right. A couple journalists and us. It's the team. Yeah. Literally, there's not even cheerleaders. There's no fans. There's no camera crew.
It's just us, right.
It's just us. Literally, the video of him that got caught of him smoking the cigar was by another player. Right. So it's like, at what point is it... I want to make an argument that if I'm rich enough and I rent out the Superdome, I expect some of the rules to be bent a little bit. Hey man, no drinking alcohol on the turf. Well, I rented out the Superdome so for my wedding, so you're gonna let us drink on the turf. Yeah. So I feel like there's some legal gray area where it's like, I think this was just a reject trying to flex, but also to make that argument is pretty privileged and. I don't know. You know, but it's true though. Sometimes you got to acknowledge that. Like, who am I to sit here and advocate with like, let some people break the rules, but not others? It's like, well, that's pretty privileged. That's pretty comfortable of you in your ivory tower there, guy. So it's a delicate balance. But guess what? As a kid, sue me because I'm too old to be doing it anymore. But every 4th of July in my cul-de-sac, boy, we were shooting off fireworks. It's one of those like you turn the other cheek. It's the 4th of July. Everybody and their neighbors shooting off fireworks. So why do we get to go on the 4th of July? I get to go, hey man, this cop's a real jerk for getting us for the fireworks. But I can't go, when I win the championship and I'm one of a million, I'm going to go number 1 in the draft. You're going to get me for my celebration?
Yeah, man, because think about it. It's a business in there, bro.
It's a great point.
And it's certain there's a certain standard that may be expected. So it's like, maybe it's no nonsense for people to smoke in there. And so, you know.
As it probably should, right?
Yeah. I mean, shit. That's just what it is. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's just what it is. You know?
Listen, I wouldn't be surprised. Listen, if I'm your offensive guard and I'm about to celebrate, I'm covered in champagne and I'm in a room full of cigar smoke, I'm going to that cop. And I'm like, hey, man, turn that shit off. Go get him. Joey Bosa, he might think he's bad, but he ain't anywhere without this card. Get him out of here. Put that out. So I wouldn't be surprised. Listen, so I need to go back to my roots. I hate smoking in an enclosed room. Right. So I'll be the first one to be like, hey, Officer Joe, you want to take care of this real quick, my guy?
I feel you.
All right. So, any final thoughts? Smoking in the stadium. I like you took it real. You took the business aspect. It is what it is, man.
Yeah, that's just what it is, bro. That's just what it is. But I'm sure he's gonna be good at the end of the day.
He's gonna be good.
Yeah, he's gonna be straight, man.
All right. So the chosen topic for today. A couple days ago, I think it was like 2 days, if not last night or the other night. I'm going through Instagram. And you know how you get these paid ads, it says sponsored, and here's an ad from Instagram on my news feed. I'm going to play it here real quick.
Question. Is the term Chinese restaurant syndrome racist? Of course it is. So let's set the record straight. Tweet at Merriam-Webster and ask them to take a fresh look at their definition with #RedefineCRS.
So here's why, Calvin, I pulled this and I brought it up for discussion. I'm sitting there, as somebody who lives in this digital age, and we understand that these apps are following you geographically everywhere you go. Right. They're listening to us right now. They are listening to our conversation, pick up on things we're commonly talking about to advertise to us in the future, and they watch all of what your interactivity on the apps that you use. Like, hey, we might not know what they're doing on Twitter, but us as Instagram, we know they're using the Twitter app right now. And so they're able to gauge where you're at, what you're using, when you're using it, and they've got a whole documented algorithm to figure out how to best advertise to you. And so as a result, I've been really stringent on the ads. Like I'm always with a fine-tooth comb. Like, why is this in front of me?
Yeah.
So, one of the times, I just to kind of give a little foundation, my dad and he thought I was nuts. So we did this experiment. I've never owned a cat, never will own a cat, don't like cats at all. So we sat there and talked about for a few days, hey man, we got to get cat food for the cat. Right. Hey, make sure you stop at the store and get cat food for the cat. Right. And almost within like 3 to 4 days, both my dad and I are getting ads for cat food. Mm-hmm. So with the ads closed, with the phone off, it's just there, but it's picking up on our conversation. So because of weird things like that, I'm always kind of, like I said, stringent against the ads that come across me. Yeah. And so for this particular ad, I think there's a real conversation to be had about somebody. Why Use Message is what it's called, sponsored by Why Use Message, which is obviously some type of non-profit, which takes tons of profit, organization that is to represent a movement. And one of the hills that they chose to die on is fighting for the removal of this term, Chinese restaurant syndrome. Okay. So what do you do instantly besides make me go to Merriam-Webster's dictionary and find out what a Chinese restaurant syndrome is?
What does it say? What does that mean? Bro?
So, Chinese restaurant syndrome. A word that must be strucken from the dictionary and never seen again. Erased from history. Chinese restaurant syndrome is a group of symptoms such as numbness of the neck, arms, and back with headache, dizziness, and palpitations that is held to affect subtle persons eating food, and especially Chinese food, heavily seasoned with monosodium glutamate.
Wow.
Now, if we look up, here, I'm going to get, I should have had it ready, but I neglected to. The monosodium glutamate is a sodium salt, which is an acid, one of the most abundant naturally occurring non-essential amino acids. This glutamic acid is found naturally in tomatoes, grapes, cheese, and mushrooms and other foods, but is used as a preservative. And at the amounts that are used in Chinese food.
Right.
So in the ramen packets, gravy, stew, condiments, snacks, it's generally recognized as safe designation. A popular misconception is that it can cause headaches and feelings of discomfort, known as Chinese restaurant syndrome. This is all from Wikipedia.
Okay.
But blinded studies have failed to find evidence of such reaction, but it has been shown that it is a very addictive sodium and that it causes fatness. So in our last podcast, when we were talking about Lizzo and Julian Michaels coming out and saying, like, hey guys, don't be surprised when she has negative health effects, and everybody going after her. We were going to talk about it today, but one of her statements recently today came out that she was like, hey, I'm very disappointed this isn't about the issue and it's become a discussion about the person. Because in a discussion about the issue, listen, man, there's nothing more that I love more than Chinese food. I mean, I love Chinese food. And I could say for a fact, you could not convince me that I'm not addicted to it like crack. Like, there's nothing. If it's a treat yourself evening, like, hey man, it's Sunday Night Football, I worked hard. Like, I'm gonna get Chinese food. And like,
what you normally get?
I'm gonna go with General Tso's chicken. And listen, I look like a pot sticker because all I eat is pot stickers, man. Like, let me tell you. So when I'm
pretty good.
They are. That's what I'm right. So when I'm sitting here, like, listen, man, I already know I'm already kind of addicted to this stuff. Nothing is more. Listen. Also, the thing that combats with it is fried chicken. That Popeyes down the street has my business more than it really should. Yo. Because it is so ratchet. I come up and the drive-thru's caked in grease. Nobody cares about their job. They hate you for coming to their store. It just reeks being outside. Yeah. And then I'm like, but give me my crack. I'm addicted to fried chicken too, man. I go to Giant Eagle or Giant and you just get like a tub for $6.
Did you try the chicken sandwich?
Yo, you got to check out my podcast. We did one where we got spicy and regular from Popeyes, spicy and regular from Chick-fil-A, and there's a Columbus but now Cleveland classic called Cane.
Which one won?
There was 3 of us. Me and my one buddy went Popeyes, and my other buddy went Chick-fil-A.
Wow. Did you know which one was which?
Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, you could easily... Listen, that Popeyes chicken, I shit you not, is like 3 inches thick.
Oh, my God.
Versus your Chick-fil-A, which is like a chicken... like a burger patty.
Yeah.
This thing is like a chicken half.
Fuck.
It's huge.
Damn.
Dude, it is so good.
Yeah.
So my one buddy who also picked Popeyes, he picked the regular. But I can't emphasize enough that there's like a special sauce on the spicy...
you like spicy shit, huh?
I love spicy.
Yeah?
I love it. Oh, big time.
That's what's up.
And I'm telling you, that Popeyes spicy chicken sandwich won bar none.
Yeah.
But again, I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that there's some sodium glutamate in fried chicken too.
Right.
Because it's so good. It's in fried foods, and it's a comfort type of sodium. So, bringing it back to the point.
Okay.
If there is a word that says, hey, there is a food chain which is known for using, it is known for using this sodium. And for us to go, hey man, Chinese food really isn't the best for you because of this. And then we go, but now there's a movement against just wiping this word. If there's people that use this word, I want to know what the word means. Imagine being in a situation where somebody goes, Chinese restaurant syndrome, and you go to Google it, you can't find it anywhere because we've now whitewashed the entire history of this word.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's the dictionary isn't saying, hey, this is a good word, we're going to advertise it, or hey, this is it's up to you to decide is it a good word or a bad word. We're just giving you the words. I bet you hell's in the dictionary.
Yeah. Listen, bro, so when we go to the origin of racism, what's racism? You know what I'm saying? Racism is a systematic way to hold another race down. Okay? So when we look at Chinese restaurant syndrome, it's a way it's a lot of Chinese people, this is how they gain their economic stability. Okay?
And they aren't losing my business because of the word.
No.
That's true too.
Right. No, but at the same time though, there are some people out there that may have never heard of the word, and when they look it up and they see what that means, they may double think to order from a Chinese restaurant, which could affect
That's true too.
Affect that race. So it's like, if you want to say it's racist, I would agree with them in a sense where it's like it's preventing them from gaining their economic, gaining economic stability. Because if more people are aware of Chinese restaurant syndrome, less people are going to go and order from them. Because there's a new wave out now. Everybody wants to be vegan. Everybody wants to be natural. Everybody wants to be, healthy and shit. So if they hear about the sodium monoglycoconate, whatever the fuck that is, you know what I'm saying? Monosodium, whatever. Yeah, like if they hear about that shit, they're not going to want to order from them. So it's like...
That's a fair point.
So it's like what they're doing is they're protecting the way they feed their family. So they want to eliminate that shit from the dictionary because it's like, yo, that shit is affecting us. We're not making as much money. So that shit is racist, and we don't want that shit in the dictionary. And shit,
now, here's my question.
Want that shit in the dictionary
now, if we're going to really... I think you made a great point. Something I haven't thought about is what would compel... Because my next question was going to be, what compels somebody to... Make a Instagram page, make a group, pay a girl to get on a commercial, pay for the sponsor to put on the commercial.
It's affecting them, bro.
That is enough to compel someone.
Economically, it's fucking them up.
So here's my next question for you. Here is a situation. Term was created to acknowledge a unhealthy sodium that is addictive and has been making people increasingly obese.
Right.
If that is the case, and that is what's affecting your business, do we really think the term is racist, or is this is racism the avenue that we have to totally eliminate this thing that's opposing us? So we've got this term that we're saying opposes us or is hurting our business or my ability to feed my family.
Right.
Is it truly racist, or is racism our avenue to just, hey man, irrefutable way to chop this down before it even gets off the ground?
No, because it's unfair, bro. McDonald's is, I'm sure, has
they have. I will, to emphasize your point.
Yeah.
Nicotine, which is a chemical that is literally a couple carbons away from being nicotine,
right?
And they literally put it in their sauce and their fried goods, so their French fries have nicotine in it, so you get addicted to their fries.
Okay, perfect example. So it's like, why is it that they're putting Chinese restaurants as the forefront of having this sodium? When you mentioned McDonald's has nicotine. I'm pretty sure they have this bullshit in there too.
Probably.
You feel me? Why do they have to be the label for that shit? It should be all fucking fried foods and Popeyes and all that other shit that's not good for you. You know what I'm saying?
That's a great point.
Yeah, they're putting them at the forefront of it as if they're the only ones that have this shit when they don't.
Yeah,
you know
that's a great point. Now I'm curious what other types of restaurants. We nailed it. Tomatoes, grapes, and cheeses naturally have it in a very low dose along with mushrooms.
Right.
But you can also find it in stock, cubes, soup, ramen, gravy, stews, condiments, snacks. So it's probably in a lot of other things.
Probably in a lot of other
and
stuff.
I think you really nail it of why isn't this called monosodium glutamate syndrome and it's called Chinese restaurant syndrome? You really make me reevaluate it.
Not even just Chinese. Don't put the race on there. Put fast food or fried food syndrome. Then there's no racism behind it because it's like, this is the type of food that it is. See, Chinese food, yes, it's a type of food, but it also has a nationality behind it, which innately will make it racist because it's affecting the Chinese race. This is how they eat. You feel me? But if you put fast food behind it, then fuck it. The Chinese food probably will have to make a different way to make their food. You feel me? Without claiming racism. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where they're coming from with it. It's not Chinese restaurant syndrome. It's fucking fried food syndrome.
I think that's a great point.
You know what I mean?
And you're really making me reevaluate kind of the perspective I initially took of like, well, if this is a term, since 1968, like, who are we to pretend it's no longer a term?
Right.
But I think there is some credence to the point of, hey, if there's other people using this and you're strictly attacking Chinese restaurants, there is a racial or at least targeted tone towards this. But it's not attacking all Chinese people. It's attacking this industry.
Yeah, but it's like, look, you gotta look at when Chinese people come here, bro. That's one of the industries that they get into to feed their family.
One of the first and only.
You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so it's like that's racist right there because you're affecting them. You're affecting a specific race. You know what I'm saying?
See, here's what's really weird.
Yeah.
Is it's a type of cuisine that is there is no other way to talk about. Listen, you and I could talk about fried chicken, and sure, it could have some implications to like soul or black culture, or even if we talked about, I don't know, I'm really trying to think here, like meatloaf. You could be like, I don't even know, tacos, right? Like, what if there was an industry where in America, tacos are because you cannot find American Chinese food anywhere else besides America.
Right.
It's just what these Chinese people have. It's not even what they make at home.
No.
It is a
different.
whole turn.
Whole different,
and so
cuisine,
it's really tough in like if Latinos in America created tacos differently than they're created anywhere else.
Yeah.
How else would you acknowledge this industry? And what is weird is before I came across this term, I've known through just listening to Joe Rogan because listen, the dude's a health expert, and my fat ass is still sitting there shoveling Chinese food as I'm listening to him, and I'm sitting there like all he does for years has shit on Chinese restaurants because they use this thing. So it's like, while I agree with you that other people use it, they're known for it. So it's like, I think we're disarming an ability. Listen, it comes back to Jillian Michaels going, I'm not saying you can't be fat like Lizzo, but let's also have a very real conversation about this is not the right lifestyle for everybody.
Right.
And promoting it is unhealthy.
Right.
So when we look at Chinese food, it's like, hey guys, as somebody who's going to die fighting on the hill for Chinese food, just like Twinkies, whatever it is, like enjoy your life, we should also be able to acknowledge that this type of food, I mean, let's just say if all tacos had this type of addictive, problematic thing in it, we should be able to go tacos. So what sucks is our tacos, there's no other way to call all Kung Pao chicken, General Tso's chicken, and pot stickers to address that whole menu. You call it Chinese restaurants.
No, but listen, bro. It's not Chinese specifically. Yes, they may have this salt, but it's something that the food industry has implemented into their what they serve to us,
right,
as a way to make money. So it's to give Chinese people that label. That's like, it's like singling out somebody in a classroom, you know what I'm saying, that was laughing or some shit when the whole class was laughing. You feel me? That shit is, it's not fair. You know what I mean? You're gonna pick on the kid that's most likely to get in trouble. So it's like, why are you putting Chinese people in the forefront of this chemical or this sodium when everyone is doing it in the food industry? You know what I'm saying? You said it's in ramen noodles. You know what I'm saying? You said it's in stew and all this other shit. You know how many restaurants serve that stuff?
You're right. I mean? Yo, and I want to emphasize your point real quick because I think you're nailing it. So MSG is the short for this mesodium glutamate. So I got a list here for a list of restaurants, and it's kind of skewed because it's all the restaurants that use high MSG or other ectotoxins.
Okay.
Acetotoxins.
Yeah.
ECITO toxins.
Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, man. Applebee's, Audie's, Bob Evans, Burger King, Carl's Jr., Chili's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, McDonald's, Olive Garden, Outback, Red Lobster, Ruby Tuesdays, Taco Bell, TGI Fridays, The Village Inn, and Wendy's.
You feel me?
So, I mean, here's the fast food joints. I think you've nailed the point. Is like you have created a word to isolate what, because let's be honest, and you're taking your point one step further. Who else probably came up with Chinese restaurant syndrome than frickin' McDonald's trying to go, hey, it isn't us, baby, it's Chinese restaurant. It's not Bob Evans, baby, exactly. it's Chinese restaurant. Let me tell you. So I think you really nailed it because
that's racist, bro. That's racist as fuck. That's racist as fuck, bro.
That's a great point.
That is racist as fuck.
Well, I think it's because they're the easy target,
and that's what's so racist about it.
But you know what? I don't want to. I agree with you. Yeah. But I think the malicious targeting isn't as much as, listen, all the McDonald's, they're franchises. They are owned by one corporation. So the power is like, these Chinese people can't defend themselves. It's a bunch of mom and pop restaurants across the country that can't organize themselves.
Right.
This is the perfect target.
Right.
So I don't think it was like, one, as an American and watching China slowly take us over, I don't really have the biggest problem of like, but they're Chinese Americans. So that's totally different. But it's also like, China's taking us over. So the empathy is tough to find. But you nailed it. As somebody who's, I'm trying to be introspective. I know that isn't the right, that is wrong to begin with. I'm just going like, hey, it's America versus the world. But even furthermore, to go and target this group who really can't defend themselves simply because they're not a organized conglomerate, it is nothing but racist. And I don't think the agenda was to target a race. But it can't take away from the fact that was the result. That was the result.
At the end of the day, bro, you know what I'm saying? It's all about money, you know? And
always,
so maybe Chinese restaurants are taking away money from McDonald's or all these other white corporations. And so it's like, maybe it's not just because they're Chinese, but simply because they're fucking with their business, so they're going to try to shoot at them. You know what I mean?
100%.
At the end of the day, it's all about the one color that matters is green. You know, but at the same time though, bro, it is a tool of racism because it is narrowing down to a specific race and it's affecting them in a way where one race is holding on another. Because who the fuck invented Merriam-Webster's fucking dictionary, bro? White people, bro.
You're right. You are right.
You know what I'm saying?
But what stinks is over the course of social existence, it is snowballed to where, you know what's funny is somebody in debate.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, when I was in high school, you know, when we were going to states and nationals, I mean...
You're in the debate team?
Oh, yeah. I took debate real serious.
Wow.
And so what's interesting is I learned at a real early stage that most of debate came down to your definitions. And it was my definition versus your definition. Okay. And you'd go to a couple different dictionaries, and honestly, depending on... You had to argue pro and negative. You had to be able to do both sides. And so you probably have a different definition for both sides. Yeah. And it became... You know, I would always, the trump card was Black's Law Dictionary. That's why I still have mine. I came to law school, I was like, cool, I finally have a double use for this thing because, you know, it was always, if you, Black's Law gave you a couple definitions. Yeah. And if you could find one that fit your purpose, that trumped anything. But if you couldn't find that, the next leg up, the most reliable, because again, these judges would rely on, I mean, it came down to whose definition beats who. Merriam-Webster, because it was so socially integrated into our world, has perched itself as like the reliable dictionary besides a legal dictionary. And so, for me, I think there's, while yes, Merriam-Webster's was definitely created a long time ago by white people. Right. We can say for a fact, in a Merriam-Webster's dictionary is the N-word. And it doesn't have black connotations, but it has a definition, I think it's like lazy people. Well, okay, we know that's not what it means, and we know that it's got way worse connotations, but I also think just totally wiping its existence and pretending it's not there is the danger, right? Like, what if a bunch of white people said, we're getting rid of this word, and we're going to... I think that's the danger.
Here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
You know, your words that you use, bro, they have an effect on every second of existence. Every word that you put out is a chain reaction to something. You feel me? So it's like when you put a definition behind something, your mind subconsciously, when it says it, that's what it's trying to express. Okay? You erase a definition behind something. Chinese restaurant syndrome could mean I feel enlightened when I eat at a Chinese restaurant.
It could. It's a yo.
You feel me?
Your point right now is huge.
So if you were to put that as a definition in Merriam-Webster's dictionary, you feel me? That's something positive, and that's what you want to think about when you go eat at Chinese restaurants.
That's a perfect refutation, Calvin.
If you wipe away that shit, bro. You feel me? You take that shit away from the dictionary. You take away the fact that it is something that's related to MSG. You feel me? People aren't going to think of that when they think of Chinese restaurant syndrome, bro. They're going to think of whatever people tell them that's what it is. You feel me? Or the word may not even exist because it's not in the dictionary, so they're not going to use this shit. You feel me?
Oh, yeah.
But it's all of, like, for example, bro. You look up black in the dictionary, bro. What the fuck does black mean? You know what I'm saying? Look that up for me, bro. What does black mean in Merriam-Webster?
Yeah, that's a good one. Black, of the color black, or relating to any various population groups having dark pigmentation of skin. So there's two, either... So black, see, that's the weird thing about colors, though, dude, is colors always define themselves. What is red? Well, red is of the color being red. So there's two definitions. Black is of the color being black, or of the color black, or of or relating to any various...
Look at how they put it in the sentence, though. Let's go in the first definition. What does it say?
A black sweater, a black dog, as black as coal.
Okay. Now let's read the second one. What does it say?
Right, so now it's... of or relating to African American people or their culture, or of or relating to any various population or groups having dark pigmentation of the skin. Okay. Their you know what's funny is all right.
So they put dark. It's a dark pigmentation, right?
Yeah.
Search up dark. What does dark mean?
Yeah. Do you want dark pigmentation or just dark?
Dark, because those are two different words.
Yeah, good point. Dark, devoid or partially devoid of light, not receiving, reflecting, transmitting, or radiating light, transmitting only a portion of light, wholly a wholly or partially black.
Right.
Of a color of low or very low lightness.
Okay. Being less than light in color than other substances of the same kind, arising or showing of the traits of or desires, lacking knowledge or culture. You feel me?
Yeah.
Relating to grim or depressing circumstances. Now,
yeah, relating it to evil traits or desires. That's a great.
Now, listen, bro. So use the word black. You look that shit up in a dictionary. It tells you all the extra shit. Then you look up the word dark, and it tells you all this shit. These are words that are related to black people. Now, when you think of black, when you say black people, you're going to think of dark people, which are grim. You're going to think of lacking knowledge or culture. You're going to think of, opposite of light. You feel me?
Wow.
And light.
The fact that lacking knowledge or culture is in there.
Bro, and I'm telling you, bro, this is all a game. You see what I'm saying? Because it doesn't mention that black absorbs light. It doesn't mention that black is black is everything, all colors in one. You feel me? These are important words, bro. When you use your words, it has power. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
it's huge.
Yeah. So think about it, bro. They're using Chinese restaurant syndrome. So they're affecting a Chinese race, and whenever you think of Chinese, that's what the fuck you gonna think of, bro. When you think of black, this is what people think of, but this is not. Merriam-Webster has gave a definition of a word, but that doesn't mean that's what it means. You feel me? But the fact that it's on paper, bro, that's what people go by, bro. And that shit is real. That shit has effect on people.
You know what's funny is, as the listener right now, if you were doing a mental exercise, you're running through this with us, and Calvin asks you, the listener, to define dark, and I think that's a sentiment to the progress and the direction our society is going. Because I want you as a listener to honestly ask yourself at any point when you are going, and not trying to be funny, because I know some of my friends are like, oh, I could come up with some funny shit. No. In a genuine exercise where I go, please consider the multitudes of definitions you could come up with for dark. For dark.
There's nothing good.
Well, not even that. At any point, because again, I want to use this as a sentiment to how far we've come.
Yeah.
Do you honestly think, to your mind, now this is just a layman who doesn't rely on the definition in the print, did you ever think of lacking knowledge or culture? No, that one stands out to me the most. The fact,
what do you think of, when you hear dark? What do you think of, bro?
I was, you know what? The first couple ones is what I would, and maybe that's just me trying to be diplomatic, and trying to play it safe.
What do you think?
But I know I would have said lack of light.
Okay.
But what's funny is I would again, when we got to arising from or showing evil traits or desires,
bro, that's what I think of.
But I was gonna say that is something I think I could have gotten to, because of Star Wars and other things that are put on us.
Exactly, bro.
But what's funny is I'm blown away by the fact that Merriam-Webster, a huge corporation with a board and approval, especially of sensitive words, like listen. I am not looking up what hippopotamus is. So your definition of hippopotamus does not have the same scrutiny as dark. Yeah. And for you to know as a business, hey man, we're under a fine-tooth comb and under a looking glass for how we're going to define this, and of the definitions is lacking knowledge or culture.
But bro, that's what the N-word means.
You're right. No, it's crazy.
The N-word means ignorant. You feel me? And that relates back to dark, bro. Like, when you think of dark, when you look at any movie, bro, the dark side is always the bad side. The dark side is always the side that people hate. You feel me? The dark side is always the side that people do not agree with. And so these are words that relate back to my culture. You feel me? These are words that people say. They say black. They say dark. You feel me? So it's like, that's racist in itself. The fact that word means that and it relates to me, that's racist. Because it's holding me back from accomplishing anything that I want to do. Because people automatically, when they think of me, they think of opposite of light. And what light mean? Light is knowledge. Light is fucking awareness. You feel me? And the fact that you know, when you look at science, though, science tells you that black, it absorbs light.
Right?
You feel me?
And is all the you nailed it.
It's all colors in one, bro. And that's what black is. You feel me? Black is everything. But this is telling you that it's nothing. It's lacking. It's dark. You feel me? So that shit right there, shit right there, racist.
Yeah, no, and you know what's interesting is, so I as we found out from the Merriam-Webster's screenshot there of the definition, that term came out in 1968. Here I am just looking up in 1955 is when McDonald's got off the feet.
1968 is what term came out?
Chinese restaurant syndrome.
That's
so here
crazy. That's
here
the
is
same year
13.
Martin Luther King died that year.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if that.
Yeah, well, it probably does. That's when racism really came back. Yeah. But what's interesting is you have McDonald's 13 years prior to this term even coming out. We know what a McDonald's is, so they're clearly embodying this MSG, fast food type lifestyle, and we're coming up with this term. So I think you've really captured the point of, one, you could have defined this term or come up with a different term to fit this definition that doesn't target one group. Like, it's okay, I will just acknowledge that the beginning of my opinion of this situation was, listen, all Chinese food restaurants use this. They're known for it. But what I didn't realize is, well, there's a lot of other things that aren't known for it that are using the same thing. Why is Joe Rogan talking about Chinese restaurants and Chinese food being bad, but we're not talking about how Applebee's and Kentucky Fried Chicken and Carl's Jr. and all these other listen, we all know they're bad.
Yeah.
But we're not going Chinese restaurants.
We're not saying Wendy's restaurant syndrome.
Bingo.
We're not saying McDonald's restaurant syndrome. We're saying Chinese
or
restaurant
even
syndrome.
MSG syndrome. That's the best.
That's the
term.
best way. That's the best term, bro. MSG syndrome is the best term because that's the problem. That's the root. But we're not targeting the root, bro. We're targeting a specific group, and that's Chinese people, and that's racist as fuck.
And you know what's interesting is I initially took the perspective of even if there is a negative connotation to this, you can't take away from the fact that it's a term, and wiping it away is more dangerous than anything. But I'm starting to see the other side of this argument where it's it doesn't matter if it's a good word or a bad word, it shouldn't be a word to begin with. And actually the danger is in the creation of the term itself. Because, listen, we're not saying we need to wipe away with the term, zoo, because zoos are inappropriate. It's we could get rid of zoos themselves, but the word zoo needs to exist for social operation. Well, this is totally different. This is a term, if zoo was what we're comparing it to, it's we created this not to acknowledge all zoos, but zoos that are just owned by Chinese people.
They said Chinese zoos. That shit is
Bingo.
racist as fuck. But there's a whole bunch of zoos out there.
Yeah, no, Chinese animal cages. Because it's already got the negative connotation,
you know what
too.
I'm saying? And you put animal cages in there, Chinese, you're going to, when you think of Chinese people, when you say Chinese, that's what the fuck you're going to think about. Animal cages. You're going to think of fucking MSG. You know what I'm saying? This shit is racist as fuck, bro. It's a system. Bro, the thing that I need people to understand, bro, is that, and that something that I'm just starting to understand is that there's power in everything that you do.
Yes.
And one of the things that is power in is your words, bro. Use your words wisely. They say you have one mouth, 2 ears for a reason. You use your words in a way that can really bring something positive. And that's how I intend to use my words. But a lot of people intend to use their words in ways to complain and really bring people down and hate and do things like that or do racist things. But your words have power, so you have to watch what you say, bro. You have to watch what you say, and that's the key, bro. That's the key. So Chinese restaurant syndrome, that shit is negative, and it's fucking a group of people up, and I think it's racist, and I agree with them. That shit should be taken out of the dictionary because it's defining Chinese restaurants as MSG, and MSG is something causing obesity, which is an epidemic within our country, and therefore it's affecting what the people's choice and where they're going to eat. Now, I'm not saying that Chinese food is good for you.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
No, but you're making a great point.
I don't fuck with Chinese. I don't
For that reason.
For that
you don't want to
reason,
look like
you
the
feel me?
pot sticker next to you. I get it, man.
You look good, man. But no, on some real shit. I don't eat Chinese food because I just have a certain type of lifestyle.
Right.
You feel me? But at the same time, it's like for you to label a specific race of people or restaurant as something as MSG when everyone that's fucking doing it, that's fucked up.
No, I agree with
somebody,
you on that point.
Somebody has an agenda behind that, and someone is fucking somebody up behind.
So I got a question for you. Last question,
Yeah.
just to push your point because I really like it. All right, so wrapping up, would you feel differently if MSG in a parallel world, let's just say this type of, monosodium glutamate, let's just say it was only used by Chinese restaurants.
Okay.
So these are not Chinese people. It is an industry of food. Like you've got all these people against, burgers or pork because of the way the food industry treats cows or pigs. So if people were against this type of industry, cuisine, or like Indian food, let's just say changing it up, Indian food, which is Asian, like they're using a type of sodium that causes this. Would you feel the same way if, again, it is targeting, and I totally agree with your point. Now you've changed my opinion, but would it be just as unfair if they're the only ones using it?
Yes, bro, because it's not Indian food. All of Indian food, unless all Indians eat that shit, and that's what the fuck they eat all the time, and that's just what Indian food is. You call it Indian food syndrome. But even if you call it that, it's so racist because it's still targeting a specific group of people. You feel me? Like, if Indian people were the only people that use a certain type of chemical in their food when they're frying shit, it's not the Indian food that has mono MSG or whatever. It's the process in which how they're doing it.
Right.
So it's the frying the food. That's how the MSG comes in there or whatever, supposedly. And if that's the case, then all people that fry food, that's a fried food syndrome. It's not just Indian food.
So that's right. That's why I want to draw the line.
Yeah.
What if the line is this isn't a thing that all these people in fried food?
Right.
If it's just Indian people.
If it's just Indian people, I still think that it's not. I wouldn't put the race behind it. I will put the process in which the MSG comes into play. MSG doesn't come into play simply because they're Indian. It's not like just because an Indian person comes and cooks something, that's what the fuck gonna happen. It's the fact that they're cooking their food in a certain way, and that's why that's gonna happen. And that's the syndrome that they receive. So if it's fried food syndrome, it's fried food syndrome. If it's fucking extra salt syndrome, it's extra salt syndrome. But it's not just because they're Indian. It's not Indian food syndrome because not every Indian person cooking that type of way.
No, right. No, I agree with you in that, like, in the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
I understand, like, hey, man.
Because imagine if an Indian person tried to create a vegan restaurant and they made vegan food, but they're Indian.
Right.
A person, just because they see that they're Indian, may be like, oh no, I don't want Indian food syndrome. And that's going to fuck their business up.
That's true.
Even if they don't have that type of food there.
So here's the trouble. I 100% agree with you, and you have opened my eyes to a totally different perspective that I wasn't seeing before.
Okay, cool.
And I appreciate that.
Right.
The one thing I'm just curious about, and the whole time you're talking is you're making me realize that I got to work real hard to come up with a metaphor to kind of illustrate maybe the opposing side of your argument, which only shows that it's not the right argument, right? Like, I'm trying to come up with a situation with, what if your hairline product? Okay. It's for a specific demographic's hair. Right. So, what if because African Americans have different hair, right? They require a different type of hair maintenance. Yeah, right. And so what if the entire industry, because what's interesting is what you're getting at one Chinese restaurant, even though they don't know each other in Ohio, you're getting the same thing in New Jersey or wherever you're at. So what if across the board there is this cancerous type of chemical that is put in a hair lotion? Would it be a problem if I'm trying to say in a perfect world where racism isn't because I want something to strive for.
If there is a cancerous thing within the black hair industry, right? We have to go to the core of what is causing the cancer.
That's a great point. So exactly, then it comes to that chemical. It's not black hair syndrome.
It's not the fact that it's black hair industry that creates this, because there could be a black hair person that creates something that doesn't have that type of effect. It's the core that causes this, and once you get down to the core, you will start going into other industries that have the same type of core. You feel me? So it's the specific thing that creates it. See, cancer doesn't have a race. Fucking obesity doesn't have a color.
Yeah.
It's a specific thing that you have to identify. And once you identify what the problem is, you label it as that, so that way more people are aware of what is actually creating it, and it's not just black hair products or Chinese restaurants.
Nailed it. That's a great... You totally refuted the point.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%. I think you made a really great point.
Cool, I'm glad you...
No, you totally refuted that. I think you've definitely enlightened me into a different way of viewing it. Because, again, I think we live in such a antagonizing time that I'm quick to jump to a defense of just like, no, I'm not going to call my legislature. No, I'm not going to go to your website to take more words down. But then I think when you get to have these long... forum conversations, you really get to learn why, I didn't really see a danger. I saw more of a danger in pretending a word doesn't exist. But then when you break it down, hey man, this was a word that was created by a bunch of wealthy people to probably forward their agenda. Well, then you're starting to see again the wizard behind the curtain. You're starting to see what's really going on.
That's the racism behind it, bro. That's the racism behind it.
But see, here's the really unfair thing, and I don't want to, as we're wrapping up here, one thing I'd like to get your flavor on is, one, I really think the Democrats thrive and find success on playing word games. So as somebody who's totally liberal, I say it all the time, I don't care what you're smoking, what you're doing next door, as long as it doesn't affect me and my property.
Right.
That's as liberal as it gets. But we've got this Democratic Party that plays word games. You're not allowed to say this. This is the word you have to use. And it's like we're all walking on eggshells trying to appease something. So to the point I want to say.
Right.
I think it's unfair to attack and take away people's professions and go after people for racism. I think the real fight is prejudice, because there's no way you and I, who have had a civil night, have had a great evening. Listen, man, my shirt's a beige. You've got a blue jacket on. You've got a black... And I'm sitting next to another male.
Right.
The whole time, I cannot stop my brain from making these categories that, again, were wrongfully created at the beginning of time and have been socially instilled in us, but I'm a human. You can't take a... I think the real fight is prejudice. When I go, whoa, I'm categorizing this man as a black man, and I'm going to treat them differently because of it. Well, that's the real fight, is you're acknowledging we're all racist. We're all going through it. We're all, I'm going through the New York City on the way to the bus going male, female, white guy, black guy, orange guy, purple guy, the whole time. I can't stop my brain from that. The real thing is when I walk next to a black guy and go, poof, and punch him in the face because he's black. No. Like, that's the problem. So what's interesting is, and this is, again, you've totally changed my perspective on this issue, and I have a lot of affection for that.
Okay.
But my perspective has always been, whoa, guys, the fight isn't racism. And because it's something you could just tear down anybody. We are all ingrained with this type of racism. Right. I think it's the prejudice of like, hey, I'm not going to your restaurant because you're Chinese.
But bro, that's what racism is, a systematic thing, bro. Racism is something that is implemented to keep a group of people down
and separated. Other people.
Yeah. And then Prejudice comes in where you just categorize a group of people simply because of the way they look, so you treat them a certain type of way or expect a certain type of thing because they're that thing. But the core is racism, bro, because it's systematic, bro.
That's a great point.
It's systematic. It has been implemented in our culture. You feel me? And now, white people aren't the only people that could be racist. It's racism comes from a place where there's a majority of a specific group, and they systematically have designed to create another group to be below them. That's racism, bro. You feel me? So it's like, within our race, within American culture, bro, if you look at the history of America, black people, Chinese people, immigrants in general, have always been below the white man. And when I say that, I mean because, the white man is the person that's always in office. The white man is the person that, is considered the superior. Then you have, white women underneath them. You have women in general. Women have always been below men in time. You feel me? But then you got the black man. You feel me? He's black, but he's a man. You know what I'm saying? So there's certain things in below anybody is the black woman. And you have, obviously under black women, you have other races that are women. You feel me? It's like systematically in America, bro, this is just what the pattern has always been. You look at history, this is just what it has been, and this is what people are continuing to fight for. But the problem that I have is that people try to ignore that fact, bro. People try to make it seem like racism doesn't exist. This shit is ingrained in our culture, bro.
Right.
And bro, I'm not saying that like every white person sees a black person as below him. You feel me? But because, look at us here. We're chopping up, and you're allowing me to give you my insight on things.
Of course.
Where we are equal in this platform. But it's something that is ingrained in our culture, bro. Like, let me tell you something. As a black kid, bro, as a black man, right? Look, bro, every time I turn on the TV, I see a white face. Superman, my favorite superhero, was white. I wanted to be Superman, but I'm not white. I can't be Superman. Batman is white. I can't be Batman, bro.
Even Santa Claus
is fucking white, bro.
Jesus was never white, bro.
Bro, but that's
the man was in the sands, and he's a white guy now.
The white. That's the God that my grandparents were praying to, bro.
And he was not a white guy ever.
Right. But what I'm saying,
but no, you're right.
What I'm saying is this is what racism has done, and so we must be sensitive and compassionate to other races that feel like they're being subjected to racism. Chinese people, bro, yeah, granted, they taking all the jobs and shit like that, whatever the fuck. They work hard, bro.
They do.
They work hard, and they come from...
Well, when I brought that up earlier, I'm more talking about China the nation.
Right.
The country is buying up our academic system and controlling what we can teach, all these little things.
Yeah.
So that's... Listen, I got no problem with the Chinese American. The real problem is this other country with drone-thinking humans who are just a part of the mob.
Yeah.
They're going to take us over. So that's the only... Like, I'm worried about it. I'm talking about more global politics.
Right.
No.
But as a human being, bro, naturally we all try to find a way to survive, bro. And so, like, for example, me and you go to fucking Germany, right? We're fucking Americans, so we're gonna stick together. You feel me?
Right.
But when we here, you feel me? I'm not saying that we don't stick together, but at the end of the day, sometimes it's like it's the white guy versus the black guy, and it doesn't have to. I'm not saying
it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be that way, and that's why. But it is. When you look up dictionary shit and you hear dark, you hear of fucking evil, and then you hear light, you think of fucking knowledge and shit. When me and you sit in a classroom together, bro, these are the words that society think of, bro, and so that's fucking racist. We should fucking, in my opinion, bro. Fuck words, dog. Eliminate all them shits, bro. And we should have a new definition for certain things because... And you know what? That's why black people use the N-word so much. Nigga. You feel me? I don't know if I was able to say that shit on your show.
Right, of course you can.
But nigga, for example, is a way for black people... They use as a term of endearment. You feel me? But at the same time, it's kind of weird because it's like white people can't use
say it.
So it's like, how do black people use the term of endearment, but white people can't say it? That doesn't make any sense.
That's right. I'm going to be honest with you. I wanted to press you on that next.
It doesn't make any sense, bro.
Yeah.
It's fucked up because it's like, if it's a positive word, why can't you use it to me?
Yeah, I've always felt that way. I feel like that's already drawing a line in the sand.
Right,
if there's words that some people can use and others can't,
bro.
I think the real progress is in exactly that. If you could say it to me, I could say it to you, and it's totally.
But the thing is, the problem is the word has what it has, and it's still negative, bro. That's the truth behind it.
You're right.
The word is still negative, bro. You feel me? I use it all the time just because the society I grew up in, bro. I use it all the time, but now like I try to use other words. You know what I'm saying? Like king and shit.
I like that. I like that even better.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what's good, my king? You know, shit like that. Or my God. Ooh. You know what I'm saying? Or my God. They say we call each other God and shit because we can create and destroy. But that's a whole nother topic of discussion. But it's like these are words carry weight, bro.
You know what's really interesting that I wanted to press you on is so the last thing I wanted to wrap up with you is I was having a hard time compelling myself to your argument because I've always felt like socially we have blurred the line of prejudice and racism to where they're pretty much interchangeable. And I was going to say, okay, if racism has become this quasi-prejudice, it's defining our lines and then using them against each other, then what is a word that I can use to say that we are categorizing each other? Like you said, you're sitting next to a white man, or I'm wearing a beige shirt, you're wearing a blue jacket, and if racism is no longer the word I can use that exemplifies just categorizing as a human being in this world that systematically creates these categories for me and has ingrained them in me, how is there a word anymore that it used to be racism, but and prejudice was when you use that racism against people. Is there a word left to us today that, again, everybody wants to be an ally, everybody wants to, virtue signal and say I'm not a bad guy. So in what world what is the word I get to use for somebody who goes, listen, I'm 26, I'm combating this thing where I've been taught these are different. This is a man, this is a female, this is a LGBT, LMXYZ, this is a straight person. Like, I have been taught to make these categories, but I'm safely operating in a world where I don't hold that against people. I hold against the person's character. I meet you for the first time. Doesn't matter if you're orange, purple, or green. I'm going to shake your hand and give you the same opportunity. It's up to you to mess it up and be a bad person. So is there a word anymore? Because it seems like racism has evolved into this thing where, we can knock people down and eliminate their careers because they're racist. But really, what is the word that we could safely use to listen, man, I think being an ally is phony and it's just people being safe to begin with. But what is the word where I get to go, listen, I'm not a bad person? And it's the word that we used to use that is operative in, hey, I make categories, but I'm trying to eliminate that.
It's called discernment, bro. You look at an individual's character and you base them off of their character, not necessarily just the way that they look. You know what I'm saying? The problem with racism is that you categorize in a group of people, but if you look at a person's character, you know what I'm saying? Martin Luther King is about to come up on Monday.
Yes, Monday.
And he once said, don't judge my children by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. So if you have the discernment to see who an individual is based off of who he is in essence, that is the true challenge of mankind today, is to be able to categorize things or an individual by what they can create or what they do. You feel me?
That was a strong answer. I really like that. Discernment's the perfect answer.
Discernment.
And that's what we need to move closer towards. Yeah. Because, again, I think you nailed it in, hey, it's very ironic that just the way human existence played out, there were tribes that were created by skin tone because of geography and the melatonin in their skin.
Yeah.
In a parallel world where we're all a tribe based on our hair color,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter the melatonin in your skin, and you all hate each other based on your hair color and the hierarchy of the hair color over human existence.
Yeah.
So it is totally nominal. None of it matters.
Yeah.
It's all been created, and I 100% agree with you. But it is interesting living in a world where it's a constant combat, trying to fight against this thing that's been instilled in you.
Yeah,
and pretending it isn't there, I think, is also unsafe.
No, it's pretending it isn't there is unsafe, bro. I agree. You know what I'm saying? But what I think people need to do, bro, is just to just be real and understand that this shit is all an illusion, and just look at a person's heart. Because naturally we all gonna see the problem is that we all look at color. First thing you see is color. You feel me?
Right.
Because when you see color, you kind of get an idea of who the person is or where they come from. But then you have to dig deeper and understand what the person is about. Once you get into that core of the individual, the soul of the person, and you can have the discernment of what type of person that they are. You see what I'm saying? But the first layer is color, bro. You see once you see culture, that's what it is. Culture is culture. You feel me? Culture is how a person operates. But then you gotta look at deeper in a culture, because an individual is deeper than who he appears to be. You feel me?
I think that's a great. Honestly, you totally, and that's why I love this podcast and I love having these conversations, because you totally flip my initial perspective on its head. And I think you even opened a door to an even more important conversation and a more important perspective. What's interesting is one of my buddies. He is becoming a counselor, a school counselor. All he talks about is perspective. It all comes down to perspective. It is interesting. And that's why I love having this, because that's a perspective I would not have seen.
Wow.
And that could have been the white perspective, and you totally, like, privilege or whatever. But it is interesting coming across this ad and just going, oh, what the heck, and being triggered by, just libtards being, already. But that's why I think there's so much value in having these conversations, because there's some people who are quick on the trigger, like, racist, take them down. There's also, but then that's made me on the other side of the spectrum, where it's like I let more other people get away with more, simply because I think there's too many people quick to the trigger. And
I appreciate that, and I want to say something like I don't want you to think that you come from a privileged perspective.
No, right.
You come from a different perspective, because everybody's privileged, dog. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's privileged. It just matter what they do with their privilege.
Right.
The fact that every fucking American, bro, is privileged, bro.
Yeah, and we lose sight of that.
Every American is privileged.
And we're all on the same team, dude.
Bro.
The fact that we lose sight of that, too, we're all on the same team. When Iran is doing its thing and people salaming each other, like, at the same time, guy, we're all on the same team. Like, that affects us all the same. So when you've got people like, we are under a dictatorship, come save us, to Iran, the people that beat gays and throw women off of cliffs, the guys, you don't understand how good you have it, and we are all at the same detriment. We are all in this together.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy is it takes something like 9/11 or aliens to. That's why, honestly, I think aliens have become such a joke. They try to super saturate it in society, because that's the one thing, if ever found about, would unite this planet in a heartbeat.
Yeah. And that's another thing, bro. I don't want to make it seem like it's a nationality thing. It's us versus them. It's just human nature, bro. Like, we're all sharing this planet. We all bleed the same blood, bro. We all feel the same emotions. So it's all about, just treating people with respect, bro. And just, that's how it is. You know what I mean? Don't categorize somebody just because of where they come from, but the content of their character, bro. That's the key. You know
those are super wise words to end this conversation with, and it's also super poetic that we're taking this into Monday with Martin Luther King Day. And that was honestly like the best. That was the best way to end it. I think that totally wraps up the conversation, and and highlights where we're at right now. We're going into Martin Luther King Day. It's going to be our day to reflect and have appreciation and affection for a huge human achievement and wise words from a wise man. And I think that those were perfully said.
I ain't wise, bro. I just be living, man.
Hey, that's how it should be. But that's how you get to being wise.
Yeah.
Is living. Yeah. All right, so I gotta end this on a funner note. You know, right, we took this and got into the real deep depths, and I love it. That's how it's supposed to be. I appreciate that I can do that with you, Calvin. Okay. So we're gonna end this with a fun game. Like I said, ballers or hip hop scholars. All right, Calvin. So this is how I got a list of football 2018 draft football players, and then I got a list of hip hop scholars, rappers. So here's the questions I'm going to ask you. I'm going to give you a name. If they are a football player, I want you to say baller, and if they're a rapper, I want you to say hip hop scholar.
Okay.
Okay. 18 points to win. Extra point.
I don't watch much football, bro. That's the problem.
But I think you'll be able to siphon out that they're not a rapper. I'm hoping. So here's extra point if you can get. Hey, it's a 1 in 32 chance. If you can guess the team they're on, or an extra point if you could give me the rapper's actual rap name. So I'm gonna give you the name.
All right.
If you could give me the rap name, that's a bonus point.
All right, cool.
18 points, you win.
Let's go.
All right.
18 points.
Anthony Averett.
Anthony Averett? That sounds like a football player, bro.
He is a football player.
All right.
Nailed it. You want to take a guess at the team?
Nah.
Baltimore Ravens. All right. Let's get Jonathan Lindale Kirk.
Bro, that sounds like a football player.
No, it is da baby.
Jonathan Lindale. Oh, Kirk. Oh, fuck. Fuck.
This is a good one. Sean Clinton Dix. H-A dash Sean. Last name Clinton dash Dix.
That's a football player.
It is.
Player, bro.
Chicago Bears.
Okay, Bears. Okay.
Let's go with Montario Lamar Hill.
Montario Lamar Hill. Fuck, I'm gonna guess football again, dog.
Ooh. Nope. Lil Nas.
Who the fuck is that?
Lil Nas X. You know Old Town Road?
Oh, Old Town Road, dude.
Yeah.
I know you're talking about. He's a country singer, though.
I guess you're right.
Yeah.
I had to throw him in there.
All right.
Alvin Nathaniel Joyner.
Oh, that's my boy. Nah, that's a rapper, bro.
It is. Rapper, can you guess the name?
Joyner Lucas?
Exhibit.
Damn, bro, I am terrible.
Trey Flowers.
Man, that's football.
It is football. Man, you're nailing it. You've gotten every football one right. San Francisco 49ers, he's a safety.
Okay.
Joshua Jackson.
Joshua. Oh, fuck. All right, let's go with football.
It is a football player. Packers. Let's go with Curtis James Jackson III.
Bro, Curtis James Jackson III? That sounds like fucking a rapper.
It is a rapper. Want to take a guess at who it is?
50 Cent. Man.
Yo, it is 50 Cent. Did you know that? Did you know it or take a guess?
Curtis Jackson, bro.
Well, you're acting like you're taking a guess.
I know that.
Belcalis Marlinus Almanzar.
Bro, that's a fucking football player, bro.
That is Cardi B.
What? The fuck is her name?
Belcalis Marlinus Almanzar.
Wow.
3 names. Cardi B.
Belcalis Almanzar. Some shit.
Let's go with Gazzy Garcia.
Football.
Nope.
Oh
Lil
my god!
Pump. It's Lil Pump.
Oh shit! Oh my god!
Jaquiski Tart.
Football.
It is a football player. The 49ers. Safety. Terrence Thornton.
Terrence Thornton? Yo, who the fuck? What kind of names are these, bro? Terrence Thornton. Terrence Thornton. You're a football player.
Pusha T.
Bro, I don't know anything.
All right, Calvin, you are at 9 points. You got to get 9 more.
All right.
There's 10 left, or 11
shit.
left. But
All right.
but don't forget, you can still get bonus points.
All right, let's go.
All right, Breland Speaks.
Speaks.
Yes, and it's like speech, S-P-E-A-K-S.
Rapper.
Nope, it's a football player.
Football player.
Football player, Kansas City Chiefs, D end. Give me David Andrew Bird.
What?
David
What?
Andrew Bird.
That's a football player. No. That's rapper, bro. Rapper,
It is a rapper. You want to take a guess at who it is?
No.
It's Lil Dicky.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. That's dope.
Let's go with Dave Cruikshank. C-R-U-I-C-K or K-S-H-A-N-K.
Dave Cruikshank?
Dane Cruikshank.
Dane Cruikshank? Rapper.
Oof, football player. Dane Tennessee Titans.
Fuck.
Hercules Matafa.
Bro, I'm running dry here. Hercules Matafa. Matafa. Bro, that sounds like a football player, bro.
Is that your final answer?
No, that's a rapper.
Yo, it was a football player. Minnesota Vikings. The end. Let's go with Raheem Mayers.
Oh, that's a rapper.
It is a rapper. You know who it is for an extra point?
No.
Ooh, ASAP Rocky.
Ooh.
Let's go with Duke Dawson.
That sounds like a football player, bro.
It is a football player.
All right.
Denver Broncos cornerback. Earl Simmons.
Football player.
Ooh, it was DMX.
Earl Simmons is DMX's name? What?
Yep.
Earl Simmons.
Earl Simmons. Dex gonna give it to you. Simmons gonna give it to you. Earl here, hot yeah.
Oh my god. Bro, this game is terrible.
Charles Jawanza Worth.
What? Charles DeWanzo Word. That's a football player.
It's Chip the Ripper. King Chip.
Bro. What the fuck, man? Oh my god.
I got 2 left for you. 2 left for you.
Alright.
Damian Ratley.
Football player.
It is a football player for the Cleveland Browns, wide receiver. And finally, Jaquise Berman Webster II.
That's a rapper, bro.
It is a rapper. Can you tell me who it is?
No.
I was really hoping you would. Travis Scott.
Oh, wow.
So you got one.
His name is Jaquise?
Jaquise.
Wow.
Jacquees.
Jaquise. This is a little like me.
All right, so you got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh.
4 points off.
Hey, you win some, you lose more. All right, guys, wrapping it up here. We had a lot of fun. Calvin's the man. I can't wait to get him on here again. I don't think I can have enough.
I appreciate that, man.
All right, guys, as we're wrapping up, don't forget that we're going to try to do a book club. So I know most of you guys aren't readers, but get a fire under your ass and get Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon. I'm going to end every episode this way. Great book. Can't emphasize it enough. And we're going to be doing a podcast in June on it. So I'm giving you plenty of time. Dude, it's a great book. So it's about how in Laurel Canyon in Hollywood, or in California, the CIA essentially created the Birds, the Doors, Jimmy. I mean, it's a conspiracy theory, but he's like, listen, I'm not even creating a theory. Okay. I'm just going to give you all the facts that are in documents, and then you can make your decision. And there's some wild stuff in there. How all the buildings are connected with underground tunnels. How the main, the cabin, which was like the hub for music in Laurel Canyon, was actually first created as a CIA fortress. And then within the first 4 years of it being created, it just happened to become this production studio.
Wow.
There's some wild stuff in here, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting to get halfway through it. The first 3 chapters are simply him going, hey, I'm going to give you a list of all the people who suicided themselves. And this is their story, and it's maybe 3 paragraphs. And again, I didn't grow up in the '60s, so a lot of these people don't impact me as much as it would like our parents.
Yeah.
But it's strangers who I don't know of, but it's like this is their documented death.
Yeah.
How do you get shot 17 times and it's ruled a suicide? You know, there's some wild stuff. And Joe Rogan talks about it all the time, how this was clearly a way to just get rid of people back in the day.
Yeah.
Of just like, they killed themselves. And they're still trying to get away with it with Epstein and stuff. So it is a wild book. I cannot suggest it enough. Honestly, you
Sounds
should pick
good.
it up.
Yeah,
I'd love to have you on here and talk
sure.
about it with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude,
for
there's
sure.
no... Listen, we've got too many books that we got to read to begin with.
Facts.
And I'm not a book reader. But within the first... You get through just the preface, and you get in that first chapter, you're like, wow, there's some wild shit going
That's
on.
dope.
So, Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon by David McGowan. Don't miss it. And I can't emphasize enough, thank you guys for listening. This has been a long one with a great conversation. Please like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, and don't forget to share this post. I can't emphasize that enough. And in the future, it's going to get you pizza, whoever shares the most. So,
Hey, can I make a book recommendation?
Yes, please.
Too? Y'all should check out Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That changed my
Ooh.
life. Yeah. It's my
I'm going to check it out. I'm going to write it down after this.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Think and Grow Rich. All right, I'm going to put that because I got a growing list of books I need to hit. So
Cool.
that'll be on there. Calvin, my brother, I can't thank you enough
Thank
for
you
coming on
having
here,
me, man,
giving
for
us your
sure.
time, and having a great conversation with us.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get Calvin on again. Guys, again, thank you. Please share, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you, man.
Yo, that shit was dope as fuck.
I appreciate that.